Welcome everyone, this is Halak. In today's Java tutorial session, I will be covering public and private keywords and packages. So because these concepts can be rather abstract, what I did was I created a very simple example here involving applying for a SIM card. So the problem goes like this. So in the first step, create an application form object. So I have one, here's the class for it. This is analogous to filling out an application form, right? But we're doing it a lot more simpler than that. Secondly, inside the application form class, we check to see if the filled out form is correct. Okay, so we have methods for doing. So we have a method for doing that, and the check is rather simple. As long as the user doesn't leave the name and address fields blank, we're good to go. And also in that same method, we are going to store the name and address field, the address and the name to a file. This is rather unrealistic because really, if we were to do this in a production system, it would be saved to a database system. Thirdly, we are going to actually place the order for the SIM card. This is sort of analogous to manufacturing, actually printing the card. So for example, the place order class will read from the persistent storage, i.e. the file that contains the information of what the user entered. Here it would be the username and address. And then we create a SIM card object. We set the field's name. In real life, this would be like imprinting the user's name on the card. Sorry, I forgot the parentheses there. And notice that I don't print the address, but because usually you don't get an address printed on your SIM card. Okay, so that's the general problem that we're going to use to demonstrate public and private keywords and packages. So let's get started. Since there's a bit of code here, I did this before to save a bit of time. So here's the main class. All right, so it's in our package. All right, com.lack.how, and I just put it in public access. So you can think of these between each dot here. There's actually a folder structure that is equivalent to this. So for example, if you look under the source folder, you're going to see a folder within there, com, and then another folder embedded inside com, lack, and so forth, until we get to public access. Okay, and in public access, we'll have the main class here. Okay, so I'll come back to this afterwards. Let's go through the first line of code here. Here we are creating the new object, application form. Okay, if we jump to application form, and notice the application form is not in the same package as this main class. It's in a different package. It's in a package under government. All right, a short term GOVT. Okay, that's government. Okay, so we go in here. All right, so we notice that the package is different. All right, so there it is, different package. Okay, and we created an application form object, and basically. If I run it, okay, so let's try running it. All right, so if I run it, and we're gonna get some stuff printed out. And the first thing that gets printed out is in application form created. Okay, and this is what happened in the constructor. I just did a simple print statement. Okay, so we go back to the main. We see that that was what got printed. This is okay because the application form is public. So this is our first encounter with the keyword public. Right? So in here, you notice that this keyword right here, right, that I'm highlighting, is public. Okay. Now, if I actually remove this, right, if I remove it, all right, you notice that it turns red, right? It cannot find. See that it even says make application form public, because these are in two separate packages. For you to actually use the application form class, it has to be public. Okay, so that's our first encounter. So if your code is in a different package, then for you to access code from a different package, you need to declare the class as public. Okay. So now that error went away. So once we have our object, we're going to set the name and to set the address. In real life, we would actually print our name and or enter it on an electronic document, our name and address, and of course some other fields as well. But I'm just simplifying. Okay. So that's what we did. And down here, you see that I have set methods for these. Okay. And notice again that they're public. Okay, if you require access to these methods, you have to make them public. So notice that if I take this out, so I remove that, you notice that, see that there's a squiggly red line here saying that cannot be accessed from outside the package. See that? So that's a print. Okay, so you want this method to be accessible, you have to make it public as well. Okay, so it's not enough for you to make the class only public, but also the actual methods itself that you're going to use. All right, so we created an application form and we set the name and address of that. Okay, so now the next line here, well, here's the comment. Okay, if name is filled out correctly, then the form is valid and we can proceed with the processing. With processing the information and ordering a SIM card. Okay, so in the is valid method, all right. So we're going back here again because remember the SIN form, right? So the SIN form is actually an object of this class, and in here, this is our biggest, pretty much our biggest method here. So it does a pretty simple check. So if name dot equals, right, again, the dot equals we've never seen before, but it's a method available to a string, to the string object. So here, if it's blank, right, if name is equal to blank, and if address is equal to blank, then we return false. So if that's the case, then we don't go ahead with it. We can't exactly print some release SIM cards without a valid name or an address. All right. So if we get here, okay, so here's the comment. If we get here, the form is properly filled out. There could be other fields with but we'll keep this simple. All right. And then here, everything looks good, looks valid. Your card will be arriving via 1 week. All right. So here we have that printout, and then here we have something we haven't seen before. Right, this is a very simple workaround to store the information that the user entered. Okay, in a real production system, storage should be in a database. Okay, so bear with me, just ignore this. This is basically just another class available in the Java API, and I'm just using it to store the data. Right, and here's the path. Okay, here's the path that I use. Right, this. So it's in data, right, and the file is called data.txt. Okay, so if we actually go up here, I created a folder data, right, and you notice that here txt, right. In main, I just put the name as James Gosling, the father of Java, and 123 Java Way. All right, so we go in here and take a look, and we see that it's actually generated. All right. Okay, so it's generated. Let me close that. Right. So if everything works out fine, these are just to catch exceptions if something happened. For example, if the path doesn't exist, so if I remove the data directory, right, then it will throw an exception, all right, and we're unable to write it. But these are just code to actually do the opening and closing of that stream, okay? And then we return true because it's valid, right? It is valid, so we return true. And here we just say everything is good. This is what we expected. Okay, now that we filled out our form, okay, the next video that I'm going to cover will actually make use of that data that was entered or that form that was submitted by the user. All right, so see you next time.